You are running yourself into the ground trying to hide it. The mistake, the divorce, the financial collapse, the private failure you hope and pray no one ever discovers. We live in a culture that worships the polished, the perfect, and the unbroken. And because of that, you have come to a terrifying conclusion late at night. Because you are broken, you are no longer valuable. You look at the pieces of your life, your family, or your career, and you think you are looking at garbage. But history, human psychology, and the creator of the universe are about to tell you that you are completely wrong. What if the break wasn't meant to destroy you? What if the shattering was the only way the gold could get in? To understand the true value of your scars, imagine, for a moment, an apprentice artisan named Joseph. His story is a parable, a reflection of the fear so many of us carry. Joseph was an artisan obsessed with perfection. In his era, porcelain was known as white gold. A single flaw, a single bubble in the glaze, meant instant rejection. He carried the entire financial survival of his family on his bleeding hands. For 7 months, he didn't sleep. He didn't rest. He became a prisoner to performance. Can you see yourself in Joseph? The one who carries the weight of the entire household. The one who cannot afford to show a single moment of weakness. The one who masks their deep internal burnout behind a flawless, forced smile. Because you believe that if you slip, everything collapses. It happened in a single second. The work of months shattered on the floor. Joseph didn't yell. He didn't scream. He simply dropped to his knees in the dust, staring at the ruined fragments of his future. He knew the law of the studio. Broken items are thrown out with the trash. He was ruined. He was disqualified. He heard the heavy footsteps of the master entering the room. Joseph closed his eyes, waiting to be cast out into the street. His family left to starve. He knew there was no fixing this. Because the world doesn't restore what is broken. The world fires you, walks away from you, and discards you the moment you fail. Thousands of years before Joseph sat trembling in that workshop, the prophet Jeremiah was drowning in that exact same despair. His nation was crumbling, his people were fractured, and he felt entirely helpless. And God spoke to him and said, "Go down to the potter's house, and there I will give you my message." Jeremiah went, and he watched the potter working at the wheel. But the vessel the potter was forming from the clay was marred in his hands. It deformed, it collapsed, it broke right on the wheel. But look at what happened next. The scripture says, "So the potter formed it again into another vessel, as it seemed good to the potter to make." Then the word of the Lord came to Jeremiah. "Can I not do with you as this potter does? Like clay in the hand of the potter, so are you in my hand." The potter didn't throw away the marred clay. He didn't abandon it. He kept it on the wheel. God doesn't start over with a new piece of clay. He stays with your clay. He keeps his hands on your life through the entire shattering, shaping your darkest failure into something you never saw coming. Which brings us back to Joseph, kneeling in the gray dust of the studio, awaiting his sentence. The master stood over him, but he didn't con Joseph with disappointment. Instead, the older man did something completely unexpected. He knelt directly into the dirt. With weathered, calloused hands, he began to gently pick up the jagged, broken shards. Joseph whispered, "Master, don't bother. It's ruined. It's trash." But the master held up a fractured piece to the morning light and said, "An unbroken vessel can only show me its outer glaze, but a broken vessel reveals the true strength of the clay within." The master had encountered a philosophy that honored restoration rather than hiding fracture. He didn't try to disguise the cracks. He didn't pretend the vessel had never broken. Instead, he took a fine bone brush, dipped it into molten gold, and began to meticulously paint the jagged, broken edges of the shards. He believed that restoration could become part of an object's beauty, Where there was a missing fragment, the master filled the empty space with gold. When the process was finished, the jar stood on the pedestal. It was no longer a plain, common vessel. It was a breathtaking mosaic of white porcelain and rivers of solid gold. It was more beautiful than it had been before it fell. The master turned to Joseph and said, "Before you broke this jar, it belonged to the shelf. Now, it belongs to the king. Your mistake didn't decrease its value. Your mistake became the canvas for my gold." Let's look past the story, and let's look past the scripture. Let's talk directly about you. Because maybe you didn't stumble onto this video by accident tonight. Maybe God in His kindness knew exactly when your weary heart needed this reminder. He brought you here because you have been quietly suffocating under the weight of your own fractures. You have been staying up late, staring at the dark ceiling, wishing you could erase that one chapter of your life. Wishing you could undo that mistake, that business failure, that relationship collapse, that season where your entire world shattered on the cobblestones. You think your cracks have made you completely useless to Him, but you are wrong. The Creator of the universe is not an angry judge waiting to throw you away. He is the master artisan who leaves the heights of heaven to kneel directly in the mud of your storm. He is collecting the broken pieces of your heart that you thought were garbage. He doesn't heal your scars to make them invisible. He pours His love, His power, and His grace directly into your fractures, so that when people look at your life, they don't see your ruin. They see His gold shining beautifully right through you. Your scars are not your shame. They are your credentials. They are the absolute proof that you survived the fire, and they are the very places where His grace can flow through you to bring healing to others. Stop trying to glue yourself back together with muddy hands. Hand the fragments over to the potter. You are not damaged goods. You are a masterpiece in the making, and He is not finished with you yet. If you look back at the hardest season of your life, where can you see the gold of God's grace starting to shine through the cracks? Drop a single word or your story in the comments below. Let's remind each other that the story isn't over, because once you realize that the potter never abandons the clay, it changes how you look at every storm you face. Which is exactly why you need to understand what happens when the fire gets turned up even hotter. Just like it did for 3 men who refused to bend.